Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! Ajay and I are in the Christmas spirit. Rohit, he's been bar humbug, or is he Grinch? Anyway, match day 18, post-Christmas, it promised to be a cracker. I'm sure there'll be more drama than a family Christmas dinner. Will the Red Devils find some festive magic to reignite their campaign, or will the Magpies stuff their stockings with 3 points? Let's get ready to discuss. Welcome back to Two Halves, Two Innings, a special Boxing Day edition. I hope you all had a lovely festive period. A full house again with Ajay and Rohit. How you doing, boys?
Good. Festive period. Enjoying some time off. So amazing, Amit.
I'm fully
Ajay?
stuffed, me, man. Still like recovering from Christmas lunch, me, honestly. I'm full to the brim. Hoping for a good United win. That's what we're looking forward to.
Well, let's get straight into it then before we fall asleep after all those carbs and everything. So, United at the moment reeling off the back of a defeat to Aston Villa, although there's no shaming that, as we've discussed previously. And again, I think we alluded to, they played well.
That's it. The key things that we're looking for as United fans now is, we've seen 12 months of Amorim. It's a case of, he's come in, he's brought his style of play, his formation, obviously, which is being quite evidently outspoken about in every interview is, I'm not going to change. I'm going to make these players play into 3-4-3. And what we're wanting as United fans is we've seen some really poor performances at the back end of last season. And even at the start of this season, we were asking ourselves, where the performance is going to come. When are we going to start seeing this 3-4-3 system under Amorim, these wing backs, there's 5 at the back, these attacking front 3? When are we going to see it come to fruition? And I think a lot of the pundits, and even when we were analysing the game at Aston Villa, we could actually safely say that United actually played really well. We were dominating. We were really good in the press. We missed a few chances. And then again at the back, it was mistakes between defenders and not being able to close between the lines and stop the crosses or stop the shots. That's where we can improve on. So, it's looking optimistic for United. But the problem is now, coming into this Boxing Day fixture against Newcastle, is the players that are out, players that are not available, and that's going to be a key thing. I think that's going to decide this fixture. If we had Bruno, we had Mainu, we had Mbeumo and Ahmad back, that would have been absolutely fine. I think we could quite comfortably say, Newcastle not looking in the best of form, we could be able to take them. But now the script is open, the bar's open. Honestly, it's really crazy to think, which way is this going to go? So I'm a bit worried, to be honest.
Yeah, if you see, I think this is what's going to happen. I think at the moment, Bruno is injured, Mainu is injured as well, probably, and Casemiro is he has yellow cards. I think
he's back.
Isn't he?
I think he's back.
He'll be back.
Casemiro is back. Yeah.
Casemiro is back. Maybe he'll play at the higher end of the pitch, but I think it's gonna be a difficult game. Very, very difficult game for United, and especially all your main players who've been performing, apart from Cunha, they're all not available. So it's gonna be a difficult game.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the interesting thing is how they cope without Bruno. Now, I think, Roy, you and I had a chat. We did a podcast on this regarding Bruno's kind of interview that he did that wasn't published, kind of in the UK, and his interview with Rio. I was in the camp that United should have sold Bruno. So, Ajay, I mean, before I ask you about that, I mean, it'd be interesting to see how United cope without him over the next few weeks, and that may give a good landscape about life with versus without Bruno. Ajay?
Yeah, it's a hard question. I think sometimes when we've had bad performances and we look at Bruno kind of throwing himself to the ground and complaining to the referee, we kind of, look to him and say, he's not quite United captain material. He's not that leadership material. But then you look at performances where he's, scored a free kick or he's assisted 2-3 and he looks the man of the match performance. And, you think that's it. Bruno has been the best signing since, post-Ferguson. And it's just a shame when we look at Bruno Fernandes. I think why we give him in that lens of, we look at him through a lens of critique is that he's just probably one of the best players, but in the most porous Man United team in recent history. You know, if we look at Bruno Fernandes and we talk about, you know, is he the greatest midfielder in the Premier League, you know, in the last 5-6 years? That kind of debate would have been squashed had he been in a Manchester City team or had he been in a Liverpool team, you know, where they're continuously winning and getting trophies. And I think, you know what, just being put in this United team, it really just signifies how much of an impact player he is. And I know we've had this discussion about selling him in January. And, you know, some fans will say, yeah, you know, if he's worth 100 million, you know, then yeah, sell him because he's getting a bit older. You know, how's his impact going to be in the next few years? But other fans will say, no, you know what? He's been an absolute integral part of the team. We can't lose him. We need to play him until he retires. So it's a hard one to kind of say, but you can't really deny the fact that with the stats for Bruno, the amount of games he's been available, I think I saw a stat, he's only been out of Man United for 3 games in his whole tenure since
Been very, very good, actually.
Yeah,
he never gets injured. So you talk about what's life like without Bruno Fernandes at Man United. It's very hard to kind of say because it looks like he's always been in the team since 2020.
I don't know.
He's only ever had like 1 or 2 or maybe 3, a handful of games I can probably count on my hand, where he's not been picked purely just on like out of form or maybe the formation or anything. But he's always a regular starter. So these next 2-3 games are going to be. You know,
can define season as well and can actually.
Well, the thing is, we don't know how long he's away for, do we? Because there's been some secrecy.
I think if you see Emery's press conference today, he said he won't be out for too long, so it's not as bad as injury he thought. Yes, I don't think it's as bad as injury as they thought earlier. So I think this is why he was walking back to the bench. We were surprised when he was walking back to the bench.
I think he watched the game.
Exactly. And not even with crutches. He was just walking. He was just normally walking. And a lot of people actually mentioned that on social media as well. Like, if he had a hamstring injury, why was he walking without stretches or without crutches? So anyway, but he has had 7 assists this season, Bruno, for United. And he's been kind of like Ajay, you mentioned here, he's been first name on the team sheet. He's
been the linchpin.
He's been the linchpin. And I mean, who will control the midfield? That's my question to you guys as United fans. If he's not there.
Well, I mean, for me, I think it's a shame that Kobe Mainoo, who the fans have been screaming for him to kind of be shoehorned into the team, he would have been a natural replacement for Bruno, but he seems to be injured as well. So it's just destiny, or should we go down that route again? Luck.
Would you move Cunha in that space then, in that position?
No.
And then play Mount on the left.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe Mount can play in the middle.
Oh, Mount can play. Yeah.
He's got the ability to kind of do that. I think he was a number 10 at Chelsea, wasn't he? He wasn't kind of played on the
Mount, yeah. Yeah, he played like a centre attacking midfielder behind like.
Yeah, so I think that's probably more his natural position as well.
Yeah, no, but the thing, I think Cunha's not going to be able to. He's going to have to stay up front on that left-hand side because that's the only position we've got for him. And then obviously I think Sesko is going to be up top, and then potentially you might look at Mount on the right, or you might look at him maybe moving the formation around a little bit. But it's going to be very interesting how he's going to play because we're going to be lacking in midfield.
He may have to change his formation.
He might.
If he does, then if he hasn't got the players to play his formation, then he needs to change his formation, because as we've talked many times before, that good leadership is about being flexible to the situation. And if he's still being adamant on his 3-4-3, then that's, for me, not good leadership.
Yeah.
Maybe he will make some changes depending on who's available. I would say, would he try 4-4-2? Cunha and Sesko at the top, or Sesko just behind 4-4-1-1 or something, and then have Mount and Casemiro play in midfield and have his Mount specialist role as number 10, and have maybe left back or Shaw can probably play on the left side of the midfield. And there could be a lot of options there. Maybe he has to try different formation.
I think there was some talk before the Bournemouth game. I think there was some kind of insider kind of talk about there might be a formation change, because I think Amrin was maybe trying on the training ground maybe like a 4-3-3 system, because I think he tried to use this in the training ground to preempt the fact that obviously Mbeumo and Ahmad were leaving and Mazraoui were leaving for the African Cup of Nations. So obviously, you guys will know, you've got to be flexible in the managerial role. You can't just stick to 3-4-3 if you've not got 3 or 4 attacking players to cope with that. Martinez has been trialled in this centre defensive midfield partnership, so whether or not maybe we might see Martinez and Casemiro in the middle. Sorry, in front of the likes of Shaw, Heaven, and Euro. That's going to be something that we'll have a look at. Then if that naturally changes into a back four when it comes to defending, then that's something as well that Jamie Carragher highlighted when we played Aston Villa.
Good.
So that the wing back, wherever the ball is in the position of the field, the opposite wing back will tend to then drift back a bit, then to create like a back four system anyway. And then it just depends on how the pressing is, because I could see definitely like Joshua Zirkzee and Mount playing in this kind of, in the midfield kind of position as well. Maybe it's slightly higher, and then you've got Sesko kind of at the front with Cunha as well. So there are some maneuverability that they can do, but it just depends on what system do they play. Is it going to be a 3-4-3, or is it going to be a modified 3-4-3, like a 4-4-2, like you said? That could be a very good option to look at. But it just depends on who you're going to play on the wing. Are we going to have Dalot on the wing? Are we going to have Dorgu on the wing? These are going to be big questions that are going to have to be...
if you see Dalot, he is better probably going forward than defending, right? So like you said, so Euro probably can play on the right back, and Haven can play. And then
personally, I would have, if they're going to put a defender as a defensive midfielder, I think I'd rather have Euro as a defensive midfielder rather than Martinez, because I think the Butcher, as he's known as, he is probably United's best defender. The issues that he's had is he's just not been consistently in the team because of the injuries he's had. So, Euro has been proven to be a little bit of a liability recently. So I think as a defensive midfielder, he's probably got... There's shielding behind him from the defense to kind of protect him if he was to have a lapse of concentration or make a mistake. So I think that's what I would do. I'll keep Martinez in the defense and then have Euro as your defensive midfielder if he's going to try and do that.
Now, you know what Ajay just said about this? I'm thinking now maybe that 4-3-3 could work actually, with Euro on the right back and Haven, Martinez, and Shaw at back four, and then in the midfield three could be Dalot, Casemiro, and Mount, and then top three could be like Sesko, Cunha, and then one more, probably young player. So because I don't think you have any other. Zirkzee. That 4-3-3 could work as well.
Yeah, I think what's unfortunately going to happen. Well, not unfortunately, but he's going to have to put Ugarte and Casemiro together. Yeah. Casemiro and Ugarte are going to have to play that kind of pivot in the middle, and one of them's either going to defend or both of them are going to defend. Because against Newcastle, you have to remember they've got really good wingers. They've got obviously Anthony Elanga, they've got Anthony Gordon,
Harvey Barnes,
and then obviously they've got Volta Mardi. So in terms of what United are going to have to look at in terms of what the threat's going to be, is going to be definitely a physical aerial threat. If you've got Livramento. They've got quite tall defenders as well. So from set pieces, we're going to really struggle if we're going to have a small team. So Martinez, might actually not be in the starting 11. He probably will come on maybe as a sub, and probably Amorim will probably look at just kind of having some height in his team. But obviously, Ugarte and Casemiro are not the tallest, and so maybe Dorgu and Dalot are going to.
I think Casemiro is tall.
It's the physical. We're missing obviously De Ligt and Maguire. They're going to be the two key defenders that we're really missing in this game, because we do well against Newcastle when we beat the long ball and when we win headers. So if we're not going to win headers,
Roy alluded to this. I mean, Newcastle have been a bit kind of up and down, just like United really this year. But one thing you're going to get from them is kind of they're going to play with heart, and
you're going to play with proper.
They're going to play with heart. You're going to get consistency, and you're going to get a kind of a good work ethic. But they're on the back of a decent draw against Chelsea. Although there's a bit of controversy because I think they had a penalty that they should have had, which they didn't have, and obviously they were 2-0 up as well at halftime, and then I ended up drawing the game. So I think that's probably a narrative that they've had. They've been kind of brilliant and then not so brilliant. And this is kind
they've not been consistent enough. They've not been consistent enough. I think this is why they are the team probably really good for the cup games, because they're not very consistent in the league for long run. They've been up and down. But if you see this season, and if you see, even if you see that United haven't lost a Boxing Day game for 20 years. Or I don't know how many years, basically. I don't know if that's true or not.
Why would you jinx us?
No, I'm just saying I'm putting a record here, which I can see.
Now. Well done, thank you.
Guys, you know what? Like you said, even without those players against Aston Villa,
as I said at the start, bar humbug,
who are better than Newcastle at the moment. I think you were very unlucky to lose that game.
The thing is, what I'm kind of worried about is, again, it's an evening kickoff. Again, it's at Old Trafford. and we just don't seem to do well at Old Trafford at the moment in time. Like it was a loss at Everton, it was a draw with Bournemouth,
But that was a good game, though, Jay.
it was a good game with Bournemouth again, but it's just a shame that obviously we couldn't convert that into 3
Defensive
points.
lapses.
Yeah, defensive lapse. And what are we going to see with Newcastle? That's going to be my issue. Obviously, they're not missing any big players. They've got great midfielders like in Bruno Guimaraes. They'll be able to pull the strings quite a lot. So my only concern with United is, right, we'll have the backing of the Old Trafford loyal, but is it going to be enough? Is our home form that good enough in order to kind of see us through? And I feel like this is probably, I don't know, it's going to be a squeaky bum time for United, honestly. You know what? The main turkey's missing in Bruno. So, it's just going to be a feeding off scraps. Honestly, it's going to be at the end of the Christmas lunch, when you're thinking, right, lads, I'm off for seconds, but the main's gone. I'm just going to be stuck with cranberry and stuff.
And I also think that Newcastle striker, Walt Meda, he had a brace against Chelsea. He's had a decent start to his life at Newcastle. He's a top striker for Germany, I think, isn't he?
Yeah,
German striker,
yeah, he's German. Yeah.
And he had big shoes to fill regarding Isak.
I think he's been doing pretty well.
Okay, unfortunately, Isak, our thoughts with him at the moment. He's a suspected broken leg at the moment, so wishing him a speedy recovery, because players like him, we want them playing for their respective clubs because they do add such gravitas to the kind of the Premier League. So, best wishes to you, Alexander Isak, for your swift recovery. So, Ajay, Rohit, where can Man United, or how can Man United win this game? If they're going to win it. Rohit, you go first.
Yeah. I don't see at the moment United can win it. So I'm going for draw for this game.
Okay, thanks.
And both. No, you wait till if you do live stream, I'm gonna put more up the back piece like you did for Toffees. I'm just saying it here, but outside this, I'm gonna say United gonna lose. But anyway, yeah. So I'm because both teams will score. Definitely, both teams will score because both teams actually not playing defensively very well. If you say they are conceding goals, both teams. So I'm seeing a draw like Bournemouth. It could be a fantastic game because Newcastle are actually, like you said, up and down. They may play brilliantly, but then I think United can snatch a draw in this game. Oh no, we're missing so many players.
Yeah, I think both teams are not looking the best. I think in terms of United, I mean, we've lost 2, and then we went on 2 wins and 2 draws in the middle of that. And then I think with Newcastle as well, they've obviously drawn their last, but then they've also lost 2 as well. I think they've won 2 as well. So, both teams are kind of coming in with not in the best of form. But I'm just thinking Newcastle probably starting 11s is just probably going to be better than ours, and obviously with their substitutions as well, they'll probably have better subs. So this is a game obviously over 90 minutes. And unfortunately, with United at home, we start off maybe well. We might take the lead at half time, but then 5-6 minutes into the second half, we can see 2 goals straight away. So I think that's just going to be the same style of play that's going to happen, unfortunately. And I think, I hate to say it, but I think the Boxing Day record for United might be in tatters. And I think, unfortunately, United have lost a few records this season anyway. So.
Record since Sir Alex Ferguson.
If you see
just one of our 2025, lowest point conversion for any manager, or we've been quite poor. So I think unfortunately, I don't see us winning this game. I'm really sad to say that, but I think it's going to be Newcastle win. I'm going to go for 2-1 Newcastle. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But if you see it, I want to say something. Like one of our podcast fan mentioned, he commented on our. One of the episodes saying why people look at the history. History is gone. If you look at what is current today, if you see today, United haven't played bad against Aston Villa, who are a better team than Newcastle. But that was, like you said, that was away from home. There's more pressure at home. Yeah.
But sometimes the gravitas of history, I always feel in football kind of help a little bit, with the kind of way the game will go, So you always kind of look at one team has never won at this particular stadium. So I don't know, but there's no scientific reason to think that team shouldn't win. But it's just the gravitas of that history and the weight of it.
I think that the pressure, the weight of that comes on the players, and then they start thinking about that pressure rather than actually playing well.
2 ways of looking at it. You either say it's an opportunity to break a record. So again, opportunity where people succeed is by taking advantage of opportunity.
So
and
that
secondly, it's motivated. But also as well, though, nowadays we're not seeing players or managers who have got the longevity in the club to have been part of previous,
History,
history. Does that make sense? So the
yeah,
players, managers are changing. Players are changing.
yeah.
If you look at managers, the longest serving manager in the Premier League at the moment is Pep, and then the next one is Arteta, which we'll pick on in
Yeah.
our
Only 6
review,
years. Yeah,
preview of Arsenal's game soon. So it's, and how many players are in the United team? Who's the longest serving player in the United current team?
Be like
Bruno, I
Diego
think.
Dallo.
Dallo, yeah, Bruno
Dallo's
Dallo. So
yeah.
4 or 5
Dallo's
years.
been
So
there for a
it's
while.
there's not. I don't think that weight of history, and I think that's a very good comment our listener put. So thank you very much for that. And please, listeners, do put more comments in. We really do enjoy your feedback and engagement because it helps keep us on our toes as well. I just don't see how it really affects. It's just a narrative that someone or a media kind of starts and settle their mind. So
The
I'm
thing
going
is, like,
for a 1-1. Sorry, go on, Ajay. You going to say something?
No, as I said, the only stat that you can kind of say with maybe that holds a bit of gravitas, and you feel like maybe that's just a style of play or the kind of mentality aspect is obviously United have never lost a game going into the second half being up in the first. So that kind of is a record that's if you look at how many games we've played, we've never lost a game being ahead at half time. So it's something where I don't know how, but it's something that if United do manage to score first in this Newcastle game, then maybe we might be able to keep that record going. But it's just with the players that we've got available that's going to make it quite difficult. But some records do hold quite well,
Yeah, I think that's the key for this game. I think Newcastle on paper have got a stronger team versus United at the moment because of the absences, and they've got a more stable team compared to United. So, and they've got a striker who's in form. We've got a striker who's coming back from injury, and very similar to Gyökeres at Arsenal, who for various reasons is not in form or not had a chance to kind of get that momentum going. So I'm going for a 1-1 draw at best. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope United do win, and we have some Christmas cheer at Old Trafford. Right then, boys, I think that draws us close to the end of this preview. So let's hope for some cracking games over the festive period. So many thanks for listening. Please do subscribe, like, and share your views. And many thanks to Dave's Optometrist for their support with this podcast. So looking forward to seeing you soon.